So the idea is that essentially you look at the person's life story, what their accomplishments are, what their vision is, not their goals, but their vision for the future, right? And you try to essentially reconcile where they've been, what skills they would have from their past, and how they're going to use those skills to empower other people. Is that your strategy for uncovering a hook, or is it something different?
I think the hook can be many things. The hook can be a backstory. There's some people in this world who have had a hook through tragedy. There's some amazing people that have been lost in the Himalayas, and all of a sudden they survive, and they come out and they write books and they get movies made, and so that's their hook.
Right.
But in terms of creating a hook, someone could be launching a new product, or they could be successful in business. Whatever your hook is, and you do need a hook, that it can come from many different areas. So I think that if someone's launching a product and they need to get some publicity on their product, well, why is their product different to the rest? Is there a great smart campaign that's going to be built around that product? So it's identifying what makes your brand or your story different to the rest, and then capitalizing on that.
And how important is it, the personality of the person themselves? In other words, their persona.
Vitally important.
In other words, like when, like for me, I have a certain persona that, when I go to the press, they can always expect pretty much an upbeat, enthusiastic, sort of, detailed explanations, almost where they're expecting, the hook is going to come and pull me off camera because I love to talk, as you know, right? You never hear them complain you won't talk, right? But so I guess that's one side of it. Then there's probably, I'm sure, other sides where it's almost like someone that's a person of few words can also be very effective as well, right?
Yeah. Well, the main part is being a great communicator. With persuasion, as you talk on persuasion, I mean, you need to be a great communicator. You need to have rapport with people, especially when dealing with the media. You need to be accessible for starters, and you need to be 100% open and honest. And that's the great thing about yourself, that you never hide the past.
Right.
You use the past to, as a learning tool, a learning curve for where you are now. I think communication skills is probably the fundamental asset to have.
And in terms of a hook being based in fiction and not fact, how dangerous is that in terms of like making up your own backstory? Is that something you would...
Russian roulette.
Yeah, totally recommend against doing that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And have you ever seen it happen where someone actually created...
I've I know of quite a few stories with people in their biographies have had a bit of poetic license in terms of certain awards they would have won, or there's been some times before. And as well, people I think when writing a biography on someone and putting, which we'll get into a little bit later, of when you do start a press kit of exactly who you are and your product and your company and everything else, that you need to be very accurate in there. But as well, you can't babble on. You need to get straight to the point. Find what that hook is and utilize it.
So would it be fair to say that you'd want to pick sort of one angle and really stick with that?
Correct.
Versus multiple angles?
Yeah. I mean, you've got multiple angles. But yeah, I mean...
For better or worse.
Some people struggle to find one.
Right.
If you find one, we'll hold on to it and don't embellish it, but yeah. And
make sure that pretty much everything going forward is consistent with that.
Very consistent, yeah. It's important. Consistency's a vital component in anything you do. And it's like what you do with your messages. You don't want to be giving mixed messages in terms of your seminars and your presentations.
So next question. Now let's move on to just in terms of a hook of a story. There's one person that always intrigues me in terms of PR that I just can't figure out. If I actually was going to hire one PR agent outside of you in the whole world, it would be Tori Spelling's PR agent.
Who?
Tori Spelling. You might know who she is. She's an American girl.
I do.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But Tori Spelling, I don't, listen, I have nothing against Tori Spelling, and I'm sure she's a great person, but I don't get what she's done. Like I know she had a really, really rich dad, okay, Aaron Spelling, who passed away. He had some gigantic house in Los Angeles somewhere, maybe in Beverly Hills. It was, the size of Rhode Island, the house, right? So, and she's, an attractive woman, but she's not a supermodel or anything like that. I've watched her act, and she's, I guess, okay, but she's certainly not Meryl Streep. Yet for some reason, Tori Spelling is in every magazine I pick up, every radio show. The girl's writing books. I mean, this girl's like a single barrel PR machine, yet I can't figure out what the hell she's done to essentially be a celebrity. So, explain to me that phenomenon that I think we all know about, where someone is like, whether it's a Snooki from Jersey Shore or Paris Hilton. And I guess, with Paris Hilton, the Hilton name, and, she's a very attractive person. So I guess people are intrigued by that, sort of like that, living vicariously through her insane life. But I mean, I guess when I look at Tori Spelling, it almost like has taken on a life of its own. So is that really what happens in PR, that once the story starts, it almost becomes its own, agent for like, it just takes on its own life? Is that what happens?
Yeah, I think in this modern era, there's a lot of celebrities out there that are famous for no reason. And that's not saying that Tori Spelling.
Right, I'm nothing against that, because I'm sure she's a great person. I just don't know of any accomplishment that she's made that warrants her being like sort of in every single magazine in the world. And yet, her campaigns, she actually is spoken about more fondly than not fondly. She's not like a train wreck. She's a respected person. So it just amazes me that a sense that it's almost taken on a life of its own. The story became larger than the person, and now it's more about the brand Tori Spelling.
Yeah, I mean, she has her
own
television show. I think she's an author now. She'll probably have her own perfume range eventually soon. They all follow the same route. But I mean, that's unfortunately the way of modern media these days. That there's, it's fortunate for some people, but it gives people an opportunity who aren't incredibly talented and successful of having a celebrity profile. We see it all the time. A quick example: there was a young teenager in Australia who threw a party and invited 3,000 people to this party on Facebook and Twitter. So these 3,000 people turned up and trashed his parents' home. It ended up on the news in Australia. He then got interviewed on a television show on A Current Affair, and just showed no respect at all to the reporter. Had sunglasses and a cap on while he's talking to them, and the journalist asked him to take the hat and sunglasses off, and then he wouldn't. This guy became a phenomenon overnight on YouTube. All of a sudden, he's being invited to the United States to host nightclub nights, and he's selling his sunglasses and everything else. So, he's a celebrity for being a little brat, but he's got a profile. It's 15 seconds of fame.
Right.
That's what I think happens these days. That there's a lot of famous people, but when you actually read their biography and you dig a little deeper, there's not much substance there.
So I guess the idea would be then, if you could sort of model the strategy that they use to become celebrities without really having done anything worthy of being celebrities, that there's sort of some element there that we can learn from, right? I mean, in the sense that, I guess, when I look back at it, I did study some of this stuff with the Tori Spellings of the world, and, I kind of asked you, no, we've spoken about this before with Tori Spelling, because it amazes me. But when I look at it, I say, okay, well, this is really what happened. She's a woman who essentially had her 15 minutes, 15 seconds of fame because her dad was really, really rich and got her a part in some TV show, right? And she was sort of some just average-looking person, yet somehow she took that, and this is what I respect her for. She took that germ of celebrity, and she just multiplied it and steamrolled it. And I guess, was there someone on her behalf? I assume her PR agent was calling around saying, "Hey, put her in here. She's perfect for that." Was someone managing that growth, or did it happen?
No. People manage the growth, but there's as well. It can work against you sometimes because people can get sick of you very quickly.
So, anyways, I guess the question that I'm really driving at here is that if I was Tori Spelling, okay, and I decided that I was going to, hire a PR person, right, and take this germ of celebrity and expand it and multiply it and blow it out till I was basically, almost overexposed, all around the world in various magazines and on media, all these different media sources, right? I guess the question is that most of us are not Tori Spelling. We don't have a father like Aaron Spelling who's got a jillion dollars, and we can't afford to hire a PR agency. We can't do that. So the question really is can it be done without a PR agency? Can you do it yourself? Okay, that's question number one. Question number two is, if you were going to do that, what would be the first step? Okay, which I think we kind of identified, which is, what is the actual hook, right? What's the backstory, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess the next question is that, what's really the step after that? Once you have the story identified, what is that sort of step one when you take it and bring it out into the media? So that essentially almost brings us to your step number two, which is to grow the brand, right? So the question really is, let's go from like a dead startup, okay? What's the first thing you do? Like with Mr. X from Australia, right? It was essentially to take his information, get it in one spot on YouTube, so you can point to that he already has a content. It's almost like you're leading the truth, you're making it the perception of it that he already is somewhat of a celebrity, right? And then you use that to generate more interest, right? So what would be now, just overall for, let's just say an average, let's say a life coach, someone who's doing some coaching, right?
Yeah, I think in terms of the two strategies would be in terms of when people need PR. In terms of building a brand, your own brand, that's a gradual process. You can't instantly overnight have a profile in terms of the media. But in terms of if someone's got a company they're about to launch a brand new company, or they're about to launch a brand new product and they need some publicity on that, that's concentrated for that exact launch. And that's for a short period of, it could be a couple of weeks of identifying that product and getting that product or brand or business publicity in the media to drive traffic to be able to buy the product or use your service. But in terms of building someone's own personal brand, that's a gradual process, because it takes time to get contacts, content, and depending on how good your backstory and hook is then utilising all that to use it for the benefit of your business.